You are black. You are black people. You're not black because you are of God. You are black because you are cursed black. Is this not what we were taught? Yes, talk to me. Yes, where we taught this in religion. Yes, where we taught this subtly through education. Yes. We are black because we are cursed. But is that the truth or is it a lie? Well, what about white people? They were taught the same thing. If they believed it, what did it do to them and what did it do to us? See, when white people begin to think you're white and this is good because you're blessed because you're white, we're cursed because we're black. And since Jesus and God and the angels, everybody's painted white in the context of Western civilization, then you see God in your image. Well, who do you see the devil as? So, in your mind, if God is in the image of white and the devil is opposite God, then whose image are we in? No wonder the Mormons didn't want us in the church. And suppose you believe that lie, then what do you think of yourself? And the darker you are, the worse you think about yourself. So the blackest ones among us are the most hurt by this kind of talk. We believe that madness, and then other races begin to believe this stuff. Oh yeah, these black people, they're nothing. So, you know, when you think that you are privileged because you're white, then you begin to see yourself as the law. And then you begin to mistreat others who don't live up to what you deem is best for them. That's the danger of your rule. You see, we have made mischief now with this brain. See, color has become a mischief-making thing now. See? Have we made mischief? Sex has become mischievous. I'm a male, well, I'm a female. And we start arguing over which one is superior. This is foolishness. You couldn't get here without a man, and a man couldn't get here without you. So what are we arguing about? What are we arguing about? Well, the female is really stronger than the man because she can bear more pain than any man. I'm telling you, this woman can bear it, honey. And you've been bearing a lot of it too. But please, God makes the female to excel the male. Yes, he does. He makes the female to excel the male in certain things. And he makes the male to excel the female in certain things. But when any one of us take our more excellent qualities and then make ourselves superior, then we become enemies of God, because God is the supreme. And if you're going to glory in anybody, let's glory in God, but certainly not in who and what we are. All right, going further. Now, we've made mischief because our minds are underdeveloped. You know how you can tell you got an underdeveloped mind? By watching what your hands do. The human family is messed up. I don't consider these people human beings. I don't see any humans on the earth. I see beasts in human form. I don't see no Chinese human beings. Look at the way the Chinese government ran over those Chinese youth in the streets of Beijing. That's not human. Look at the killing that's going on between humans. Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, all killing each other. Don't kill the cow. Save the cow. No, 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 he killed the cow. Kill that fool. The cow, the poor cow don't know what to say, you know. I mean, look how we've become. Some Muslims gonna slaughter each other over a hair that belonged to the prophet's mustache. Oh God. So the Bible closes talking about humans in terms of beasts. 4 great beasts. And the people of God are in the hands of a beast, and they got the mark of the beast in their forehead and in their hands. Now, God didn't create man to be a beast. He created man to reflect himself. So if you're a beast, that means you have not evolved. And the question is, why haven't you evolved? It's because your ruler has kept you from evolving. The way you think has kept you from evolving. You think subhuman, therefore you act subhuman. And religion don't make you human. Religion sanctifies your subhuman condition. Boy, 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 boy. Now I'm going to say this, Reverend. And if there are any rabbis in the audience, or imams and sheikhs, you know, religion is the biggest tool of subhuman qualities. It's used for mischief-making purposes. Yeah. We do all this mess in the name of God, in the name of Jesus, in the name of Moses and Muhammad. Please, if those prophets could come back and see us, my God, they would reject our calling their names. The Bible says many will say, Lord, Lord, and he will say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, I know you not. That's about right. I'm almost finished. Just bear with me a few more minutes. In the Bible, in the book of Revelations, you have 4 horses of the apocalypse. And you have 4 beasts. And the horse is called a beast. But this beast that I'm referring to now is a beast that is a pale horse having death as its rider and hell followed closely behind. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us not to eat horse meat, although horse meat is better than cow's meat. It's a clean meat. But the reason we didn't eat the horse, because the horse is the most intelligent of all the beasts. And to eat the flesh of a horse is almost like eating the flesh of a human being. The horse is so intelligent. Now you got a pale horse with death on the back as the rider, and hell follows closely behind. Now you know, dear pastors, the horse represents the intelligence of an underdeveloped human being. You're not quite what you should be. You got intelligence, but your rider is wrong. You got the wrong rider. And the rider that's riding you is called death. And when death rides your intelligence, hell follows everywhere you go. Now check this. Y'all all right? Now what is death, and when does death ride the intelligence of the so-called human being? Death is when we rebel against the law of obedience to the will of God. When we rebel against obedience to God, and God is life itself, when we rebel against obeying Him, the opposite of life and submission to God is rebellion, and that rebellion brings death. Death comes from transgression. The wages of sin is death. What is sin? Rebellion against the law of God. When did it start? It started with Adam. Adam was made a man in the image and likeness of God, according to the Bible. God ordered man to be a producer, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it. And God gave man the capacity to rule. He gave him dominion. But then he told him, eat of all these trees and their fruit, but not this one, of the knowledge of good and evil. Is that right? And what did he do? He rebelled. God told him, the day you eat it, you will surely what? What did he say? Die. Satan comes along and says to Eve, don't believe God, baby. God know if you eat that fruit, your eyes are going to come open and you'll be like God. And you know what? If you check out the scripture, Adam ate the fruit, but he didn't drop dead. He had all his faculties, because the book said after he ate the fruit, he heard God's footsteps walking in the garden. Am I telling it right, Reverend? He heard God. That means he could hear. Then he saw his condition. He was naked. Then God put him out of the garden. Is that right? So he was physically alive, but as the glory of God, he had died here. His eyes came open just as Satan told him. It came open to the lower nature which he had no knowledge of. So man began living from the navel down, not from his brain, but from his appetites. Listen now. Listen. Testing. I just want to walk a little bit. Now think about this. Men and women living from here rather than from here. Our whole mind set on fire with greed and lust. I want this, I want that, I want this. And if I don't get what I want when I want it, I'll do this, I'll do that. So your intelligence now is being ridden by a power that makes you rebel against God. Whatever God said, thou shalt not do, what you doing? Come on. Come on. You got so confused today, you really don't know what's right and wrong anymore. Here's a man sleeping with his brother's wife. And he says, if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. Here's Here's a man sleeping with another man. And he said, God is love. And I'm in love with this man. Surely love is of God. How could you say that I'm wrong? I'm not making mockery. I'm stating a condition. We're so messed up now, we don't know right from wrong. We do what the appetite says. If the appetite says I want this, then I take it. Is this the home of Nike shoes? Are you around here somewhere? Nike's here? Nike's here. Mr. Nike, look. You make a real nice sneaker. And you put a high price on it. And that's business. You got to, you know. But when you take Michael Jordan, Air Jordan, and you make it appear like Air Jordan jumps as high as he jumps because he's in a Nike. And a man that's been as low down as we have been, we want to jump high to get up out of where we've been. So we'll do anything to get a Nike. These young brothers don't have no Nike money. They don't have a Nike job. They're working at Wendy's, if they're working at all. And if this brother got to work for $3.35 an hour at Wendy's, how long will it take him to get one of them Air Jordan pair of shoes? And don't talk about the designer jeans and the jacket that got to go with it, and the earring, and I got to get my fade. So that boy's on the road to crime unless his mother is working hard and giving her money to her boy. That boy says, I want to look like all the rest of the boys. So now his lust for the Nike, his lust for the designer jeans, his lust for the right kind of jacket will cause him to get a gun and say, look, I'll take yours. If I can't get one, give me yours. And people are killing each other over jackets and sneakers because now we've become things instead of real live human beings. So death is riding the intelligence, and hell follows us everywhere we go. The internal meaning. What is the external meaning? God is going to place a ruler in the earth. And I say this to the Caucasian people. You were placed over the human family as a ruler. You didn't create the brown man, the red man, the yellow man, the black man, and you didn't create yourself. So when you got authority over what you didn't create, God didn't leave you alone. He sent you prophets to guide you in your rule over his creatures. But you didn't pay attention to the guidance of the prophets. And in your contrary mind, a mind of rebellion against God, you exalted your color above the color of all human beings. And you made, listen, you made your color a badge of honor. Therefore, our color was a badge of dishonor. You made your eyes, your hair, the badge of honor. Therefore, if our eyes were slanted or our eyes were round or our nose flat and our lips thick and our hair brown and yours blonde, you became the standard by which beauty was measured. Then on top of that, you made God and Jesus look like yourself. Oh, yes, you did. Then subtly you made black people bow down and worship you as a God beside God. Oh yes. You created mischief with the Bible. You created mischief with Jesus. You created mischief because death now was riding your intelligence, and you became the pale horse, death as your rider, and hell followed you everywhere you went. Everywhere the white man set his foot, people were living in peace until you came. And you put them to death. This has nothing to do with hate. Has nothing to do with hate. I'm not speaking out of hate. I just want you to see yourself in the mirror of truth, because judgment is come now. And the only way that white people can escape the judgment of God, you got to recognize why you're off base and what will get you back on course if you want to live. I just have to bring it to you just like this. Brothers and sisters, death has ruled in the rulership of this world. And this is why in masonry you only are offered 33 degrees of knowledge. Water freezes at 32. So that means if the rulers of this world have only 33 degrees, 1 degree above freezing, then hell, we're all in trouble now. When we were brought to America, they didn't integrate us. They like to call me the separatist. The bigot, the racist, the anti-Semite. I like it, you know. How somebody can put their sins on me is a mess, you hear me? I mean, no white writer should dare open your mouth to call me a bigot, a racist, an anti-Semite, when you know I have done nothing against you but tell the truth. Did they bring us here in integrated ships? Were we on an integrated plantation? Were we separated? Sure we were. Few of us lived in the white folks' house, called it the big house, but they lived in separate quarters, didn't they? Sure did. They used to have little black boys and girls as their foot warmers, and they'd lay them down in the foot of the bed so they could put their foot on little black children so that they could keep their feet warm. Oh yes, they did. But you were still at the bottom of the bed. When we went to church, Reverend, they showed us Christianity. We didn't know nothing about it. They made us this. If the slave master was a Baptist, we became that. You didn't originate that. The slave master was Episcopalian, that's what you became. Don't look at me like I'm crazy now. That's a fact. Whatever the slave master was, he set up a church for his slave. Talk to me. Yes, you didn't worship with your master, did you? You had a separate church, didn't you? Yes, sure you did. Yes, will the real separatists please stand up? We couldn't even go to the toilet with white people. They didn't want us sitting on the same toilet with them. They didn't want us buried in the same cemetery with them. It was just 30 years ago we had to die to go to the toilet with white people. Literally had to die. Some of us got our head beat to a pulp just so we could have coffee and ham and eggs with white folk. Now you gonna call me a separatist? No, I reject that. I reject that. I do preach separation, but I'm not a separatist. I'm a Muslim, and I feel that separation is a solution, and that's the only reason I offer it from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because I see it as a solution to the problem of the unwanted presence of millions of black people in America. If you don't want us, I tell you like Moses said to Pharaoh, if you don't want us, let us go and give us a good send-off. Now, brothers and sisters, to conclude this subject, no, I'm not going to take no more. Did you know, brothers and sisters, that right now there is a plot against our very lives? Your life and mine are at risk right now. America is so frightened because of the increase of our population. They are planning the death of a whole people. Please listen. Even though you may think that this is preposterous and absurd, many whites in this audience may think I'm really being a little melodramatic. You don't even know the wickedness of your own government. And your own government is so evil that unless I speak this truth, see, I don't know any of my brothers that will speak this truth. I have to speak it or die. The government is frightened at your growth. Birth control is directed against blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, not for whites, because the population of whites is steadily declining. And according to the demographers, if the white birth decline continues at its present rate by the year 2000, whites will be at zero population growth, a birth for every death. But the converse is true of blacks and Hispanics. If our birth rate continues, they say, unabated, by the year 2083, less than 100 years, we will be the majority population in America. And if in less than 100 years we become the majority population, then Run, Jesse, Run won't be no slogan. Huh? Now, if you were a racist who didn't want to see a country that was set up by white people for white people turned over to people of color, what would you be planning? How many of you read the Bible? Would you raise your hands? How many of you believe in the Bible? All right. How many of you read the Holy Quran? How many of you believe in the Quran? All right, good. Isn't it true that it is written in both the Bible and Quran that Pharaoh saw the children of Israel multiplying. And fearing the multiplication of the children of Israel, that they would join on to an enemy of Egypt and come against Pharaoh, Pharaoh hatched a plan. And the plan was kill all of the male children of the children of Israel and spare the female. Is that written in the Bible? Is it written in the Quran? Well, what is it there for? Don't tell me you believe in it and it's just ancient history. Then if it's ancient history, what do we need to read it for? We don't need a Bible and a Quran if they're not relevant to today's living. Preacher, we can't preach in no time warp about what Moses did and what Jesus did. Hell no. What they did and what we are doing, it has to be matched up. Otherwise, there's no relevance to the books. The mind of ancient rulers is put there for you to see present day rulers. How long have we been in bondage in America? A little over 400 years. How long were the children of Israel in bondage in Egypt? 400 years. Is there a parallel there? Were they strangers in a land that was not their own? And now we strangers in a land that is not our own. Were they subjected to harsh and cruel mistreatment by Pharaoh and the Egyptian people? And have we been subjected to cruel and inhuman treatment by the rulers of this nation and by white people? Well, there is a similarity then. Was Moses raised up from the children of Israel to integrate them, or was Moses raised up to separate them? What is it? Well, doesn't your Bible teach you that there would be a man like Moses? Doesn't the Quran teach you that there would be a man like Moses? Come on. How's there going to be a man like Moses unless there's a situation like the situation of Moses? Don't try to put Prophet Muhammad totally in that picture, because Prophet Muhammad was never a slave in a land that was not his own. But you were born a slave in America, and this is not your own. Don't try to put Jesus in that bag, because Jesus was never a slave to nobody. You fulfilled the book, and now you're afraid, because if you fulfill the book, then America is under judgment. God says, know of a surety, Abraham, that your seed will be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. But after that time I will come, and I will judge that nation which they shall serve. America is now under divine judgment. Open your eyes and look and see the plagues that are striking America, and ask yourself, why is it happening? Because of you and your evil mistreatment at the hands of the rulers of this nation. And the rulers of this nation have planned against the black male. That's why there are 25% of us now in prison, while the rest is on parole or under court supervision. And this is why our infant mortality rate is higher than most of the countries of the world, and equal to the poorest country on earth, Bangladesh. We've lost a whole generation in prison, and we're losing another generation to infant mortality. And now we got our young men out there on the street. From 40 to 60% of our young men have no jobs, no hope, no future. They walk out on school. You can't tell them stay in school. Stay in school for what? Come on. So they can become like you? Do you think these children want to be made into what the system has made you? A spineless group of men and women that pass on the legacy of your cowardice? You won't stand up, you're bought out. All you got to do is have a smile from a governor and a mayor. He give you a buttered biscuit and a piece of chicken at the back door, and you sell out your people. Brothers and sisters, this is serious. Yes, it is these same people that sold or gave blankets to the Native Americans with smallpox in the blankets. I have seen the original order for the blankets. I know the company that fixed the blankets up for the army. Soon I will reveal the names. We got it all. So don't you dare talk to me about being anti-Semitic, because I want to show you how anti-black you have been, putting your crime on me and on us. But it's over now. The truth has come, and falsehood is vanishing. Falsehood is forever a vanishing thing. Dear brothers and sisters, the government is so upset that every time there's a rise in the consciousness of our young men, you watch the caliber and the quality of drugs that comes into our community. Many of you that were here in the 60s, when black consciousness rose to a certain height, a purer form of heroin was introduced into the black community. And in 1985, Louis Farrakhan began to impact on this nation, coming through the Jesse Jackson campaign. And we had 19,000 people come out at the Forum in Los Angeles, and nearly 50,000 tried to get into the Madison Square Garden that could only hold 26,000 people in Madison Square Garden and the Felt Forum. And when they saw those young black men standing and cheering their brother, knowing that they had become one with me, crack then was introduced. From 1985 to now, crack has been introduced into the black community. We are not chemists. We don't make no crack. We are not gun manufacturers. Now these young boys have guns in their possession, Uzis, street sweepers, sawed-off shotguns, AK-47s. We don't make that stuff. Somebody's giving it to our young people. They're moving you about in Portland and Washington and Cleveland and New York. They set a neighborhood up. They promote gang warfare, burn houses down, leave it in a blighted condition, move you out of the inner city, move you into the suburbs. Then they come in, the developers come in, build up condominiums and won't let you back in. Afraid of your power, afraid of your growth. The government don't know what to do with black people because you're not in church anymore. You're not in school anymore. You don't follow no politicians. You won't follow no preachers no more. You have no more respect for leadership. But they hear down in the bowels of the ghetto, the rappers are talking. Yes, sir. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Farrakhan's a prophet and you ought to listen to him. So now the little children that no leader has been privileged to get to, now the young people are on fire with a new kind of message. And Brother Farrakhan is the first leader in the history of America that has been allowed to get to the youth. Not allowed because they didn't permit it. That's right. That's right. But the rappers took my message, and the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the message of Malcolm, and they put it in a rhyme and they put it in a rap. And now the babies are rapping to truth. The babies are coming up now. It's a new day, brothers and sisters. Even though this is a cold generation, they're a generation ripe for the time. It's a cold time we live in. It's a time when we must go free. And a generation has been born to bring it about. And so the powers that be are so frightened of the young black men, the mighty warriors, the young lions. The Bible said there's a lion asleep in Judah. Who will wake him? A lion can't be awakened by a pussycat. A lion can only be awakened by a lion. But a lion got to hear the roar of a lion. And that's why they want to silence my voice, because they know it is the voice of a man, the voice of a lion, the voice of God in the midst of a people that slumber under falsehood. And so America is dumping toxic waste in the cities where the black folk live, knowing that you don't know how to purify your water. So you're drinking water from the tap and you're dying of cancer today like you never have died of cancer before. 35 years ago, cancer was a white folks disease, but now we're dying from cancer. Dick Gregory, a brilliant brother of ours, said, and it was proved true, that in 1960 they came out with the polio vaccine and they asked all of us to be vaccinated. But it was proved that the polio vaccine was not polio vaccine. It was a polio contaminant called SV40. It was cancer itself injected into millions of Americans. Today they want to inoculate us again. They won't let us in school unless we get an inoculation. We don't know what's in the vial. All we know is they make us believe that it's for some damn polio. But I'm saying this to you, Reverend, and I'm saying it to you leaders. Wake up and fight for the lives of your people, or get out of the way. Wake up and fight for the lives of your people, or get out of the way. Look, these same people that want to vaccinate your children, they took over 100 black men in Alabama, in Tuskegee, and they infected them and injected them with the most virulent form of syphilis and allowed them to have sex. And when they got sick, they came back to the clinic and they were told not to treat them for syphilis, but to let it go undetected, untreated, knowing that the only pleasure that black folk have in life today is not from seeing ideas come to fruition. Mr. Trump can dream of the Taj Mahal and sell junk bonds and get people to back him He can get $1 billion to throw away. A poor black man can't have a dream and go to the local bank where he banks his money and ask for a loan to make his dream come true. So his only way of pleasure is through his organ of sex. So when you give him syphilis, he's gonna spread it everywhere, knowing that you love sex. They went in a laboratory and manufactured AIDS. AIDS is not a natural virus. AIDS is an unnatural virus manufactured to destroy the immune system of the human being. And it is blacks who are disproportionately suffering from AIDS. Black women, Hispanic women, black children, Hispanic children born with AIDS. Some of us are not even intravenous drug users. Some of us are not homosexuals, but we're dying of AIDS. Brothers and sisters, you're being killed. And you are aiding to your own killing. Eating this nasty food in these fast food joints. In these cheap meals that are cooked in a minute. And you just pop it in and pop it in your stomach. It may give you a full feeling, but you're dying because you don't know the chemical content of what you're eating. You've never been taught how to eat. You've never been taught how to fast. You don't know how to preserve and protect this beautiful life that the Creator has given. So you're dying from ignorance and dying from the manipulation of external forces that want to rid us of our population. Our women are working, our men are not. Our women can't respect a man, no matter how handsome he is, that has no productive capabilities. A woman gets tired of a man who only wants sex and don't know how to work, don't know how to bring any money in. The woman gets tired of it. Your homes are filled with stress. We are fighting each other in the homes. Children have to see a man beat up his own mother because the man is so stressed. You should be the one stressed, sisters, but look at the men dying of stroke, stress, hypertension, cirrhosis of the liver. And we as men are dying of homicide at unprecedented rates. Do you know that a white woman has 1 chance in 606 of exiting this world by means of murder? And a white male has 1 chance in 186? And a black female has 1 chance in 126 of exiting this world by murder? But the black male, 1 chance in 21. That means that every time you see 21 men in here, one of these 21 men are going to exit this world by means of murder. There are more young people dying of murder than dying of other diseases. And did you know that even though we are only 12% of the population, according to some statistics that I have here from the government, that our death rate is accidents. Black people accident rate is 24% higher than that of whites. We're 12% of the population. Cancer, 32% higher. Heart disease, 38% higher. Cirrhosis of the liver or liver disease, 77% higher. Stroke, 82% higher. Kidney failure, 176% higher. Diabetes, 132% higher. Homicide, killed by police, 500% higher than that of whites. You're being killed, and you're dying, and you're killing yourself. We got to stop it. How are we going to stop it, brothers and sisters? We stop it first. You have to get a knowledge of yourself. You've got to know who you are, and you have to fall in love with yourself. Yes, sir. And when you learn to love yourself, then you can love your neighbor as yourself. You're not black because you're cursed. My dear sister, beautiful black woman, your color is the color of my mother's. She was a beautiful, beautiful black woman. And she taught me from a child to love blackness. She didn't have the deep knowledge, but she made me appreciate what I was. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad finished what she started. Now, you are not black because you're cursed. The Quran and the Bible teach us that the first man was named Adam. And Adam was made by God to be a ruler. And guess what color Adam was? The Quran says Allah made Adam of black mud fashioned into shape. That's the Quran. Don't tell me that the Quran don't deal with color. It's answering the question of race today. Now, if the Quran is a scientifically based book, and it is the essence, the quintessence of science is the Quran. It has opened the door to scientific discovery, the Quran. If Allah says that He created Adam from black mud fashioned into shape, can you prove that the black man is not black because he's cursed, but he's black because he's the original life in the universe? Let's see if we can prove it. Now the scholars either bear witness to the Quran or they condemn it. Mendel was a white scholar of genetics, and Mendel discovered that light skin is recessive and dark skin is dominant. He discovered that light eyes are recessive and dark eyes are dominant. Recessive means weak and dominant means strong. And he said that you can get the recessive from the dominant, but you can't get the dominant from the recessive. That is what Mendel said. And if Mendel's discovery is correct, then we can prove it. Two Caucasian people cannot produce anything but Caucasian. So if you were first, we could never have come. Because in your genetic makeup, you don't have us in your genes, but we have you all in our genes. We are the father of all human beings. Yes. So you that are brown, you that are red, you that are yellow, you have your origin in us. Your great anthropologist, Dr. Leakey, went to discover the beginnings of man. He didn't stay in Europe. He passed by Europe and he ended up in Africa. In East Africa, he found the bones of a man. He called that man Zinjanthropus. Zinj meaning black, anthropus meaning man. And the anthropologist fixed the birth of that man, or the date of that man, at 750,000 years old, and he had a father. So they went back and they dug some more, and they found some more bones of a man 1.5 million. Then they found a man 2 million. I say keep on digging. Because you won't find our birth record in no bones in the sand. You won't find our birth record in the stars. You won't find our birth record in the sun. We were before there was a sun, before there was a moon, before there was a star. We came from the beginning with God. We are the Ancient of Days, having no beginning of days or ending of years. And I saw the Ancient of Days, Daniel talking, seated on a throne. He had hair like what? Lamb's wool. And he had feet like brass burned in an oven. Who is this Jesus you expect to return? Don't look for no Caucasian. No, no, no. He's coming back, y'all. He's coming back, y'all. But what you gonna do, white folks, when Christ come back in the clouds of heaven having great power and you look up and see a black man? How you gonna handle that? I better ask you all, how you gonna handle it? You say, oh Lord, a nigga coming in the clouds. Y'all not gonna talk like that, are you? To my Jewish friends in the audience tonight, y'all are waiting for the return of the Messiah. But tell me something. If the Messiah comes and he's non-white, suppose he showed up at the door. You know, at Seder, you had that feast, you know, for Elijah. You set the table for him. You had the little wine glass there for him. You opened the door for him. Suppose he showed up and he didn't look white. He was black. I know what you do. Call 911 and say there's a nigga at the door breaking and entering. Y'all ain't ready for no black savior. It's good to laugh though, isn't it? Can you imagine Jesus showing up black and they call and there's a nigga here. He's breaking and entering. Call the police. Your own people have primed you for destruction. Because if you cannot accept salvation from the head of a black man, you won't be saved today. See, that's how God can mess you up. I'm going to talk to the Muslims now. Because see, Muslims, Prophet Muhammad was the perfect example. He was, some say, very fair complected, very light-skinned man. But he was the most noble of human beings. Prophet Muhammad said to the Arabs, there's no superiority of the Arab over the non-Arab, or the white over the black. But he also said, he heard the footsteps of Bilal going into paradise ahead of his own. He's the prophet. What did he mean? He was an Arab. And he saw down into the future that the Arabs who were to lead the world into the truth of Allah would lose their place, and Bilal's people would come up in the last days and their footsteps would go into paradise ahead of the Arabs and lead you all in, because you have deviated from Allah, and you are now being chastised by Allah for your deviation. You don't think America's in the desert for good, do you? Tell it. Allah is bringing chastisement to the Arab world, to the Muslim world, because you have deviated from the Prophet, and now he's bringing death right to your doorstep. Yeah, Prophet Muhammad told you to accept leadership even if it comes from a man whose face is black like soot and his hair like dried raisins. And if you cannot accept wisdom and guidance today from a black face whose hair is like dried raisins, then don't go to Mecca and kiss no black stone if you can't walk up and kiss a black man who has salvation in his mouth for you all. Your racism is killing you today. And so, beloved brothers and sisters, from this night on, look in your mirror, look at yourself, and feel good about